You ready? I'll call the regular meeting of the Newport Beach City Council for May 27, 2008 to order. Can we have the roll call, please?
The record will reflect that all members of council are present.
Closed session report from the city attorney.
The City Council approved a tolling agreement for the, oh God, I don't have it in front of me, the Balboa View, the Villa Balboa Group and Hoag Hospital, so that some issues can be worked out, and so it will delay and hopefully avoid any lawsuits against the city.
Okay, thank you. If you'd stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilman Rosansky, followed by the invocation by Reverend Carl Stuckenberg.
Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please stand.
If you'd join with me in a moment of prayer. Loving God, as we gather together tonight, we're reminded that even though we bring different stories and unique backgrounds, that we are all equal under your eyes. Tonight, as our civic leaders gather together to work for our community, we pray that a spirit of wisdom would surround them in this place. And as we've remembered this past Memorial Day, we are especially mindful of those who have given their lives in the struggle for freedom, both in the past and in recent days. May all we do as citizens in this community, state, nation, and world be working towards peace and justice for all. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Reverend. Okay, we have two presentations this evening. The first one is a presentation from the California Department of Forestry. It's a Tree City USA presentation.
Good evening, Mayor Selich and council members. I'm Dan Sereno, your Parks and Tree Superintendent. Tonight I'm here with the California State Urban Forester to help present and receive two awards, Tree City USA and a Growth Award. I'd like to introduce John Conway to begin with, if you'd stand up, John. He is our urban forester for the city. Many of you council members get emails on tree issues, and he gets many more and talks to many citizens in this town, and he does an excellent job protecting our urban forestry, and I wanted to recognize him for that. Thank you. And then with that, I'd like to introduce Lynette Short. She is the urban forester from the California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection, and she's going to go ahead and talk about the awards. Thank you.
The National Arbor Day Foundation recognizes cities for their commitment to trees with the Tree City USA Award. To be eligible for the Tree City USA Award, a city must have a tree board. They must have a tree ordinance. They must spend at least $2 per capita on their urban forestry program. And they must also hold an annual Arbor Day celebration. 2007 would mark the 18th year that Newport Beach has qualified for the Tree City USA Award. Newport Beach also took their program one step further and qualified for the Tree City USA Growth Award. The Growth Award is designed to recognize achievement in environmental improvement and to encourage even higher standards of tree care. To qualify for the Growth Award, the city must have been a Tree City USA for at least 2 years prior. They must spend at least as much on their urban forestry program as they did the previous year. And they must score enough points in categories such as public relations and education, partnerships, planning and management, and tree planting and maintenance. 2007 would mark the 13th consecutive year that Newport Beach has qualified for the Growth Award. There's only 2 cities in Orange County that have qualified for the Growth Award in 2007 for 10 years or more, which is a pretty good feat. And there's only 5 cities in California that have obtained this status. So it's a pretty high status to be past the 10-year mark for the Growth Award. So another thing that you guys received this year, have never received before, is kind of recognition for the Tree City USA Award from Congressmember John Campbell. Nice little award you guys received, so something to put on your wall and frame. So anyways, I'd like to invite the mayor down to accept the award. On behalf of the Department of Forestry and Fire Protection, representing the National Arbor Day Foundation, I am pleased to present the 2007 Tree City USA and the 2000 Tree City USA Growth Award. Congratulations.
I think we need to get Dan and John Conweiser up here. John Conway, excuse me. Sorry, John, I mispronounced your name.
I'd just like to say that I had the pleasure of participating in this year's Arbor Day ceremony. It was held at Harborview Elementary School I think it was about 3 weeks ago, and it was a very impressive event. Okay, our second presentation this evening is from the Newport Harbor High School surf class presentation. It's on the issue of polystyrene polluting our beaches and ocean and solutions for eliminating the problem.
Hello, my name's Ariel Kusby. I'm a student in the Newport Harbor High School Surf and Environmental class, and we're here to urge you to ban styrofoam in our city's restaurant facilities. As a class, we've done numerous beach cleanups, and it's become apparent to us that styrofoam is a big problem on our beaches. It's everywhere. It's in the sand. It's in the water where we surf. Something has to be done about this problem. We ardently are here to ask you to end this blight on our beaches. The question we ask is, why not? How can you allow this to happen on our beaches, the beaches that we have so much pride in? It's time for us to take responsibility of our city and ban styrofoam for the health of our health, for the health of our environment, and for the health of future generations. Thank you.
Hello. I'm going to talk about alternatives.
Could you state your name? Each one of you, when you come forward, state your name, please.
Okay, my name's Shana Holmes, and I'm from Newport Harbor High School. There's many alternatives to styrofoam. People think that there's just paper. There's actually corn, cornstarch, sugarcane, and even bamboo. They all biodegrade, and they vary at different prices. If more people buy them, the prices will go down. Styrofoam is cheaper, but it's really bad, and they will go down. I'm here to encourage you guys to ban styrofoam in Newport Beach food services. Why would we want something that is bad for our environment and gives us cancer? Styrofoam never goes away. A fact is that 25 billion styrofoam cups are thrown away each year. If you multiply that by 5, it's 125 billion styrofoam cups thrown away every 5 years that never goes away. When we put hot food in our styrofoam containers, or if we heat up food in them, it goes into our food. Styrofoam goes into our fat cells and stays there forever. Sea animals eat it, and it kills them too. It starves animals and gets into their bodies. Once it's in, it's never out. Every time we break apart styrofoam, fumes come out and go into the air. Now we have styrofoam in the ocean, on land, in animals, in us, and in the air. In all those places, styrofoam is doing no good. You guys up here get to decide what happens in the city, so make a good choice and make Newport green. The simplest things we can do today can be the best things for our future. Thank you.
I'm Cody Pecca.
State your name.
Sorry about that. I'm Cody Pecca, and I've got a few letters from concerned people. This is to who it may concern. We have been informed that your city is interested in banning styrofoam containers from food service establishments and events, and would like to show our support for such a proposal. We students at UCI Calprig would like nothing more than to see our neighbor participate in helping to clean our environment, namely our oceans. We understand the effects that plastics in general have to air and oceans. Since Newport Beach is close to our university, we often visit it for various reasons, whether to enjoy your restaurants or to attend an event. We would like to show our support and wish you the best virtuous step forward. Sincerely from UCI Calprig, Katie and Gotti. We got a petition signed by 1,214 people. And then we got one more letter, and this one's from King Coffee. Dear Mayor Edward D. Selvig, my name is Martin Diedrich, and I am owner of King Coffee. I am urging you to ban polystyrene, aka styrofoam, similar to the ordinance passed by Santa Monica, Calabasas, Laguna Beach, and a number of other cities across the state. This ban would apply to all food services facilities in the city, including restaurants, grocery stores, city facilities, and special events. As a zero-waste business owner, I know there are affordable ways to protect our environment, health, and communities, such as the use of biodegradables, recyclables, and compostables. For next. To contribute to protecting our earth resources and reducing waste in landfills, our plastic cold drinks cups are made of biodegradable plastic alternatives made from corn. Our Java jackets are made from recyclable paper. We encourage our regular customers to keep their favorite mugs with us, which we keep washed and ready for their use. To cut down on paper waste, we recycle all of our plastic milk jugs and all our newspapers left in the coffee house. Virtually all of our spent coffee grounds are saved and happily picked up by our guests, who use them in wonderful amendment for the soil in their gardens. All these actions better our community, and if adopted throughout the city, will produce great rewards. Alternatives to styrofoam, are available and affordable. The cost of environment of continuing widespread use of polystyrene is one that we cannot pass to our children. As a business owner in Newport Beach, it is my privilege to contribute any way possible to making our city a better place for our residents, tourists, and our environment. I strongly support the ban of polystyrene. Sincerely, Martin Diedrich.
Hi, my name's Hayley Shrader, and I'm here to talk about this poster. And not only is styrofoam bad, but it affects our marine life. So right here, there's styrofoam, and there's like Dr. Pepper and wrappers. And what happens is it gets ingested, and styrofoam isn't biodegradable, so these animals suffer, and it just gets stuck there and they die. So basically, it's just showing how like seagulls and marine life and sea turtles, like they'll think that this is like plankton or fish, and then they'll eat it and then they'll die. So I'm just here just to talk about this, and I really hope you pass the ban on styrofoam. So thank you.
Hello, my name is Andrew Brown, and I am a proud and dedicated member of Mr. Moreland's Surf and Environmental class, and I'm here to speak to all of you about a proposal we have developed. There are currently over 300 individual restaurants and food service businesses in Newport Beach that use disposable food containers made from expanded polystyrene, or EPS, and other non-recyclable plastics. EPS is not biodegradable, and as a result persists in the environment for hundreds of years, and possibly a lot longer. Numerous studies have documented the prevalence of EPS debris in the environment, storm drains, and on our beaches. On behalf of my fellow students and I, the city, also, we've had enough. That's why it's the city's desire to reduce the amount of beach litter and marine pollution and to protect local wildlife, both of which increase the quality of life to Newport Beach residents and visitors. The ordinance we have proposed prohibits food providers from dispersing prepared food to customers in non-recyclable plastic disposable food service containers. Also, all city facilities city-managed concessions, city-sponsored events, and city-permitted events are prohibited from using disposable food service containers made from EPS or non-recyclable plastic. So please, do the right thing. Pass a ban on polystyrene and help Newport Beach go green. Tonight. Thank you.
Awfully ambitious.
Hi, my name is Nicco. I'm one of the two TAs in Mr. Warren's surf class. I didn't make a speech or anything. I'm just going to speak from the heart because I live here in Newport Beach. I consider myself pretty local. You know, you see all these shows, you know, on the TV, like the OC and Newport Harbor, and they portray Newport Beach as this really, really awesome, you know, city that's like so green. And there's like tile everywhere and big polished glass windows. But you go to the beach and you just look around. It's not very clean. It's like pretty dang dirty. There's styrofoam cups everywhere, cigarette butts, you know. We should have this ban to keep the city clean, you know. Make it like, show it like it is in the TV shows. Maybe that's not possible because we're not all going to get glass windows in every building, but it has got to be a little more clean, I think. I mean, if you're going to portray it like this on TV shows, people that come to visit this town should see that it's not, you know, it's not fake. It's actually like kind of cool. And you see all these kids up here, they don't like, it takes a lot to get kids to do things. I mean, we don't just roll over and do it. One's not threatening our grades or anything, you know. It's because we all really care about this, and it's like, it's something important. It's not, he's not threatening our grades. All I have to say is they did this like, they voluntarily. They didn't get chosen. They weren't forced to do this. This is all on their own. So I think that it's you guys' turn. We've been doing this for 5 years. I think it's you guys' turn to maybe do a little bit. We've put ourselves here every year and pretty much pushing for it. We do meetings, you know, press conferences. I think maybe we've done our part. I think it's time to do yours.
Thank you. Is that it? Is there anyone else? Okay, well, thank you for that presentation. You guys obviously did a lot of homework on this, and it was an excellent presentation, something you obviously are passionate about. And congratulate the speakers that made their presentations, as well as the rest of the students for showing an interest in your city government and taking the time out to come down and make your wishes known to the city council. That's how things get done, and as you become adults, you'll learn that. So we appreciate that. And as was pointed out earlier today, there will be a recommendation, I believe, coming from the city's Environmental Quality Committee dealing with this issue in a future council agenda. So is that the next meeting, or?
EQAC passed a resolution supporting the ban on styrofoam in restaurant facilities, and it will be coming to the council at the next meeting with, I hope, staff report and a sample resolution. Or at least, well, we'll see. I know there are samples that EQAC is attaching to its resolution of what other cities have done, so we can use that as a starting point. I know you guys wanted it before school's out, but listen, we're going to work really hard, or at least I will. I can't speak for everybody else, but I think from what I've heard, there's a lot more sympathy, and I think with EQAC stepping forward, we have a much better chance this year.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Rosansky.
Is there a representative of the group that I could ask a question? No, I don't want Mr. Moreland. I want one of the students. What's your name?
Shana Holmes.
Hi, Shana. I'm Steve. Have you or your group thought about approaching the Restaurant Association to get them to support your proposal?
Yeah, she did, and they liked it.
So they liked it?
Yeah.
Okay, what I would recommend when we do address this is that you bring representatives from the Restaurant Association along with you, because obviously they're going to be the most impacted by what we do here. And certainly if they're in agreement, it would be much easier for us to move forward with that type of ban. I own a restaurant myself, and we have no styrofoam there, and it hasn't presented any problems for us. And I like the idea of it, and I think it's a good way for our city to go. But obviously there's hundreds of restaurant owners in town that would have to buy into this program, and certainly you'd rather have them supportive as opposed to not supportive. So if you've been having discussions with them, I would encourage you to bring them along with you at that time, so that we can see that they also would agree, and that would be the right thing to do.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, again, thank you very much for coming down here this evening. We appreciate it. Madam Clerk?
Notice to the public. The city provides a yellow sign-in card to assist in the preparation of the minutes. The completion of the card is not required in order to address the council. Speakers must limit comments to 5 minutes on agenda items. The council has the discretion to extend or shorten the time limit on agenda or non-agenda items. As a courtesy, please turn cell phones and pagers off or set them in the silent mode. Now is the time for city council announcements or matters which council members would like placed on a future agenda or discussion, action, or report.
Councilman Henn.
Yes, I have two announcements, both of a happy type. And I had the pleasure of attending a ribbon-cutting ceremony for a new restaurant on the peninsula called A La Carte. It's right across from the Balboa Theater, down near the Fun Zone on Balboa Boulevard. And they've got an eclectic but very well-prepared menu of food, and also a very nice selection of wines. And so I would invite all of our residents to give them a try when they have an opportunity down on the peninsula. And then secondly, Councilmember Curry and Councilmember Gardner and I are on the Oasis fundraising committee, serving as council liaisons. And at the meeting last week, it was announced that the committee will be the recipient of two very large donations to support the rebuilding of the Oasis Senior Center. Hoag Hospital has agreed now to donate $2.5 million toward that effort, and the Crean Foundation, I understand, has agreed to donate $500,000. That's a total of $3 million toward their goal of raising at least $4.5 million under the city's matching grant. And so we're pretty far down the road, but not there altogether. And I'm hopeful that they'll have a very successful effort in completing their fundraising, such that the demolition that's necessary for the project will begin in December, and we hope construction will begin in January. So very good news for all of our seniors.
Councilman Rosansky?
Just a quick announcement. I had the privilege of attending the Chamber's awards ceremony at the Radisson Hotel for the top 15 athletes from each Harbor and Corona Del Mar High School. And again, I just want to thank the Chamber for putting on that event. They do it every year. It's a wonderful event. It's amazing, actually. I attended also the Scholastic Awards ceremony that they put on, and probably half of those kids were also had top GPAs. I mean, the kid that's got 4.5 GPA, and he was won all kinds of athletic awards. It's just unbelievable. So my hat's off to the Chamber and to all the kids.
Mayor Pro Tem Daigle?
Yes, as with many other members of the community, I attended events surrounding the adoption of our 1-1 Marine Battalion, and from Camp Pendleton we had a mess night and a reception, and also a dedication memorial on Monday. And it was very humbling that these Marines put their lives in the line to protect our freedoms, and also it was really very much an honor to be part of it. And I wanted to recognize Councilman Curry and the entire 1-1 committee for all their efforts. There's obviously a lot of work put into it, and I think it touched a lot of lives. And courtesy of the city manager, I also attended the student-athlete breakfast put on by the Newport Harbor Chamber of Commerce. And having been a student-athlete myself, I can report that we continue to evolve. These kids keep getting faster and stronger, so it's really pretty amazing, some of their achievements. And as far as the city's support of our youth, we've also put together some programs that we had last week. We had the Keep Your Team Safe Forum to look at teenage driving and some of those issues. And then on June 18th, we'll be looking at internet safety. And that's really a partnership that's strengthening between our police department and the school district, Newport Mesa Unified School District. And with internet safety, it's intended to give the parents some tools to keep up with what your kids are doing on the computer. So thank you.
Okay. Councilwoman Gardner?
Yes, Yes, once again, June 7th, Saturday, the Corona Del Mar 5K. The first race goes off at 7:55. They have men's and women's 5K, a one junior dolphin dash, plus a one, I don't know how far the walk is, 2.5 maybe, but anyway, no matter what your sports level, you can participate. And then, not to be outdone by Councilman Henn, I also attended a ribbon-cutting ceremony for a new business in the Crystal Court Promenade, red mango frozen yogurt. Lots of nice, fresh fruit accompanying it. Delicious.
Councilman Curry?
Well, I was neither a scholar nor a student athlete, but I went to both of the breakfasts with my colleagues, and I will just second what they said, that these are really some great kids that we're raising in our community, and I think both Newport Harbor and Corona Del Mar High School should be very, very proud of all of them. And to thank Mayor Pro Tem Daigle for her kind words. More than 600 people attended the opening of the 1-1 Memorial yesterday. It was truly a very moving event with Marine Band and the Color Guard, and I think this is a great asset and piece of art for our community that people are going to be very proud of. Thank you.
Councilman Webb?
Yes, sir. It seems like recently, maybe the last 6 or 8 months, there's been continuing kind of conflict between some of the yacht clubs and the Harbor Patrol related to the sailboat racing events. And I know that the Harbor Commission has been concerned about this and has studied it and made some recommendations related to how they would like to see it handled. And I'd like to see if we can have the city manager and the city attorney work together and look at what the Harbor Commission people have done, and maybe even work also with the Harbor Patrol to see if we can resolve some of the issues that are out there, to where we've been racing sailboats in this harbor for close to 100 years and haven't had any significant problems. And for this to crop up in the last 6 or 8 months when not a whole lot has changed on the water, I think that we need to get out there and negotiate, or whatever is necessary, to see if we can come up with a solution that will help protect the heritage of Newport Bay related to our yachting events and sailing events that we definitely want to see continue within the Bay. And I think that there's a solution out there, and I think that we can come up with it. And I'd like to make sure that the manager and city attorney and work with the harbor commissioners and maybe bring something back to us. If we need to have a new ordinance, let's try that. If we need to have special event permits that are structured to where we can allow that to happen, let's try that. But those are just some of the options. But I think it's important for the heritage of Newport to bring this to a head, and before it really significantly impacts something that has been a part of this city forever.
Okay. I've got 2 announcements. One is last weekend was the Relay for Life at Newport Harbor High School, and I'm proud to announce that the Council Critters team raised $7,300. So we did about, I think, 3 times more than we've done in the past. So whoever's chairman next year, that's something to try. Whoa.
You have a good assistant.
Yeah, don't give me any credit. But I'd really like to thank.
Who got the guitar?
Actually, I might be negotiating with the winner to obtain it myself. So
So we might have more than $7,300.
There could be more.
Okay.
Anyway, I'd like to thank the current council members and also the former council members and mayors who came out to participate. I think it really helped the Relay for Life and showed off the city councils as supporters of that event, and we raised $7,300, so it's pretty good. And my other announcement is this weekend, Sunday, June 1st, is the Balboa Island Parade. If you remember, it's the parade that's longer than the route, and I think almost all the council members here will be in the parade, and the SC band's going to be there, and a couple other bands are going to be there, and should be a lot of fun, so I'd encourage everyone to come out. I think they close the bridge around 10 o'clock, so if you want to get out on Balboa Island, get there by 10 o'clock, or you won't be able to get on the island unless you can swim.
By car. You can walk across.
Well, by car. You're right, by car. Thank you for correcting me on that. By car. You can walk across, but you can't drive your car across or swim.
Mr. Mayor, I have actually one other announcement I'd like to make just quickly. On June 9th at 4 p.m., the 4th of July Committee is going to convene to hear a report from the Police Department, how they intend to handle the 4th of July activities, mostly on the peninsula, where it's been a problem in years past, although we seem to have done a much better job of bringing that situation under control. So if anybody's interested in attending that committee meeting, it is 4 p.m. here at City Hall in the Fire Conference Room on June 9th. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Madam Clerk.
Consent calendar. All matters listed under consent calendar, items 1 through 23 and S28 and S29 are considered by the council to be routine and will all be enacted by one motion in the form listed below. The city council members have received detailed staff reports on each of the items recommending an action. There will be no separate discussion of these items prior to the time the council votes on the motion unless members of the council, staff, or the public request specific items to be discussed and/or removed from the consent calendar for separate action. Members of the public who wish to discuss a consent calendar item should come forward to the lectern upon invitation by the mayor, state their name and item number. If the optional sign-in card has been completed, it should be placed in the box provided at the podium.
Okay, Councilmember Gardner.
Number 11.
Okay, Councilman Curry.
No items to pull. I would just note for the record the importance of item 20. This is the reconstruction of Newport Drive and Pelican Hill Road North. This is something Councilmember Gardner and I have been working on for some time, and it's very, very important to the Newport Coast community.
Okay, Councilman Webb. Councilman Henn.
Nothing.
Councilman Rosansky.
Nothing, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Daigle.
None?
Okay, I have none. Staff.
Nothing, thank you.
Any member of the audience wish to pull an item? Step forward.
May I offer on S29?
Ms. 29, thank you.
Is it my?
It's not the time to talk. Yeah, we'll call you up when it's time to talk.
Philip Betancourt, item 20, Mr. Mayor.
Number 20, thank you.
Hi, Laura Curran, item 23.
Item 23. Okay, anybody else?
Items number 21 and S28.
Okay, thank you.
And I'd like a little explanation at 12.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, seeing no one, I'll call for motion on consent calendar.
Mr. Mayor, make a motion to approve items 1 to 23, S28, S29. We'll be pulling item 11, 20, 21, 23, S28, and S29.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, please vote.
Motion carries.
Okay, first item is item number 11, professional services agreement with Buxton Community ID for marketing, research, retail leads, and marketing materials.
Yes, thank you. I had some questions on that. The criteria for selecting the three areas, I'm a little confused. If we don't have, we've rejected one area apparently because it doesn't seem to be a need, why not then just have a contract for two instead of searching for a third area? I mean, it seems like we're pushing to get something in there that we say is troubled.
Well, the strategic plan for economic development said to do this for three areas, and we were planning to work with the Economic Development Committee to select a third area. If the committee doesn't agree that there's a third area that needs it, then we just don't need to have the third one done, and we'll spend less money.
And then in the agreement, it talks about retail and restaurants, and I'm hoping we're focusing on retail because it does seem to me in a city with as many restaurants as ours that to go out and pay money to recruit a restaurant to come in is sort of bringing coals to Newcastle. During the general plan, we did some studies, didn't we, of leakage, sales tax leakage? I remember we getting some reports on it.
We did. And
a lot of that seemed to me, if I recall, was big box. I mean, that's the sort of thing we're not going to get in here anyway. I mean, we don't want in here.
No. And what this study will focus on, and the reason that this consulting company appealed to us is that they will focus on some of our older commercial areas with the smaller tenant spaces, which is not the typical kind of economic development effort. It's usually going after something more like the big boxes.
And one more question. In the staff report, it talks about that we're getting 9 samples instead of the normal 6, but the agreement only mentions the 6. So
I'm
there
going to
needs
ask
to be some...
Lee DeSantis to clarify that. She was working on the agreement.
As I worked with Buxton, they were willing to provide 9, as I recall, a total of 9 for each of the 3 areas. And in fact, their proposal has been rewritten to reflect that.
Okay.
Also, in conversation with them, I have already told them that we were not interested in restaurants.
Thank you. And I would move the action.
Okay. Please vote.
Do we open that to public comment?
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
I was-
Okay, we'll hold those
I
votes.
cleared
Anybody wish to comment on this? Okay, seeing no one, now you can press the button.
Dolores asked me to stand in for tonight.
Did you get a phone call on that?
Yeah.
With Councilmember Webb absent, the motion carries.
I think it was a text message. Okay, item number 12 wasn't pulled, but Mr. Nichols asked for an explanation.
Yes. Earlier, I think it's been a couple years now, the city entered into an agreement with the Newport Terrace Association for a way to alleviate problems that they were having on an old closed landfill that the city used to own. And this is the final acceptance of that settlement. The project is completed. The landfill gas collection system has been improved and updated, and we have sign-off from the healthcare agency from the county for this process, and I think both the city and the homeowners association worked well together in accomplishing this. So this is actually a good sign-off of this project.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the next item pulled was item number 20, which is the Newport Coast and Pelican Hill Road North right turn lane.
Mr. Mayor, Philip Betancourt, 10 Sugar Pine Road, Newport Coast. I'm a director and former president of the Newport Coast Association, although I'm speaking as a private citizen, but I especially want to salute council members Curry and Gardner, as well as Steve Batum and the city family for taking on this challenging intersection and moving very quickly for a set of design improvements that are aesthetically responsible and will deal with some considerable traffic safety issues. And I want you to know how much the residents in our neighborhood appreciate it and the action on the agenda that's here tonight. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Betancourt. Anyone else want to address this issue?
Do we have a picture of what ended up, or is there a traffic light there now? I understand we've got some concrete, but that includes a right-hand turn into North Pelican Hill as well as a right-hand turn out. I just wondered what the configuration of that intersection turned out.
Okay, I'll have the staff address that, Mr. Nichols.
It was not in the staff report. It was just the writing is there.
Mr. Mayor, I believe I can answer that. The project, this item is really just addressing the funding portion of the project. The project will be brought to City Council within a few months and actually go out to bid. But the project does include changing the radius of the northwesterly corner of that intersection to improve safety and widening the throat of that of Pelican Hill Road, as it's very narrow now with very narrow lanes. And we did have some incidences where cement trucks were tipping at that location.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Batum. Anyone else want to address this issue? Seeing no one.
I move the recommended action.
Second.
Please vote.
Motion carries.
Okay, next item that was pulled was item number 21, which is the proposed budget hearing appropriations limit.
I would like just an explanation of that. I know that has to do with the Gann Amendment, and I don't know what all it covers, but I would note that our budget is $256 million, and the Gann limit is $139 million. So I'd like to know what the two cover and why the discrepancy. And obviously, I'm aware of some of the capital improvements, but they don't come up to that level. They're 68 million, so 68 from 256 is still around $190 million. That's our budget, which would still be 60 million above the Gann limit.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Nichols. Mr. Bludow?
Mr. Mayor, what item number 21 would do is just set the public hearing for this item so that it would be heard by the City Council on June the 10th. And there would be both a budget hearing and also a GAN limitation hearing, and that discussion would take place at that time.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Daigle?
She's voting.
Oh, okay. Well,
Move the
I thought
action.
you pressed the button there. Anyone else want to speak on this? Seeing no one, I'll call for the vote.
Motion carries.
You guys are getting ahead of me here. Okay, next item pulled is item 23, the council review of status report on the 6 of the council priorities.
Good evening. My name is Laura Curran. I live in Corona Del Mar. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to comment on the report on group treatment facilities contained in this status report. 2 weeks ago, it was reported on the good and the not so good about the recent ruling on group residential treatment facilities. So the good is that the ordinance is in place and that the court ruling agreed that sober living facilities and 7 and overs would be covered under this. And I'm paraphrasing, but I think we know most of the details. So the ordinance is in place and many of the operators are applying for permits. So congratulations, thank you, and good work. So for the challenge, the 20%. So I'm going to paraphrase. What I heard 2 weeks ago and in the press since is that 20% of the group homes are not covered, are not able to be covered by our ordinance under the judge's ruling. And essentially what was said is that the court did not accept our approach. I think we need to talk about what was left unsaid or what is not addressed. Basically, the 20% applies to a loophole which is about the size of a tsunami. The 20% applies to 6 and unders which operate on a contiguous property or ownership in which the City of Newport has said could be considered integral facilities. And very admirably, the City of Newport has tried to move forward and implement the definition of integral facilities, which are facilities under contiguous operation or ownership. The challenge is that without the implementation and ability to manage integral facilities, we face a proliferation of de facto 7 and overs, which can continue unchecked and unabated, and this will lead to institutionalization, which is bad for those in treatment and bad for residents. So I urge you to take vigorous pursuit of all avenues to get the same standard of the integral facility adopted. This would include working with concerned citizens of Newport Beach to present evidence on the negative effects of institutionalization and on work that other cities are doing to pursue integral facilities definition. Secondly, as the report stated, Assemblymember Huffman in Marin County is working on a bill, AB 2903, which helps, introduces this definition. It's gone through one hearing. It's coming up for another hearing in May. I would ask you to promote that and support it. And finally, this is a difficult challenge. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. So I ask you to pursue all possible avenues to return zoning and business regulation to our cities. If not, we'll be back revisiting this 80-20 split with a new 80%. In other words, the group treatment homes, which are 6 and unders, will be our regulated and let proliferate unchecked throughout the city. Thank you for your work and for your consideration.
Thank you. Councilman Curry.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. To Laura's point, I think what the court did say was that 6 and unders were preempted by state law. And I think she very correctly pointed out that the key to dealing with preemption issues is changing state law. So perhaps we could have, I think later this week is the end of the deadline for bills to pass out of the legislature, pass out of the House of Origin. But perhaps we could have a legislative report on the status of any bills pending on the group home issue so that we could take appropriate action, because that is precisely the thing we need to do to deal with the issue of preemption on the six and unders.
Okay, anyone else? Mr. Nichols? Mr. Henn?
Yeah, just one further comment. That ruling was on a preliminary injunction, and of course the court action on the permanent injunction continues. And so, there will be opportunity as that action continues to further consider that issue.
Mr. Nichols?
It's regarding the same subject.
State your name, Dick.
Dick Nichols, Corona Del Mar. I think I forgot the last time. I'm sorry. With regard to the group homes, and particularly, the city knew very well that Integral Homes is not part of the national law. Our law by United States law just dealt with the disabilities of the people, and it only applied to 6 and under. My question is did the city present a case on the integral law to the judge, or did they not on this particular item? And then secondly, this is why this court suit by the people was brought for the state court, not the federal court. And it was the city that moved it to the federal court, and we need to be aware of that, because in some ways what this is doing is making it a very long route to get to where we need to go. I would note that the city has several places, both in its charter and in the health and safety code. It requires the city to obey state law, so we should be enforcing this, and that's unquestionable. And our charter in the Powers Act says it very clearly. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on this issue? Okay, seeing no one, I'll close it, bring it back to council.
Move the action.
Second.
Okay, please vote.
Motion carries.
Okay, next item pulled is item S28. It's the labor negotiations, a 3-year memorandum of understanding with the Newport Beach Firefighters Association. Mr. Nichols, I think you pulled that one.
Dick Nichols, Corona Del Mar. What I'm trying to do is get a little more daylight to the people who are watching and coming to the council, because I don't think we have enough on these items that you're voting on. You're voting on them all at once. You're not discussing them. This item happens to be a $31.5 million negotiation with the fire department. Now, it's the fire department, including the lifeguards, that's that total. But their salary is $17.4 million. That's for the firemen's actual salaries. I'm not saying that is out of line, but I would note that that is an awful large amount of money, and it would seem some discussion of that by the city council and how that was arrived at and how long it lasts and what are the pay raises and so forth. It does seem to be appropriate. It again amounts to about 1/5 of our total budget. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wishing to address us on this? Seeing no one, I'll close it, bring it back to council.
Move the recommended action.
Before we vote, just to clarify what he said, we're not voting on a $31.5 million budget item. Our budget will be approved at the end of June. We're going through our budget hearings today, and we did have a presentation from the fire chief at our study session with regard.
Police chief.
I'm sorry, police chief. We'll be having the fire chiefs at our next study session on June 10th. But all this is approving a 3-year contract with the Firefighters Association as far as benefits and pay increases over the next 3 years.
And Mr. Mayor, if I may, those increases will total a little less than 4% per year over the next 3 years. And there was money set aside in this budget that council is reviewing that is enough to cover what this agreement turned out to be.
Okay, thank you. Okay, please vote.
Motion carries.
Okay, the last consent item pulled was item S29. It's the Balboa parking lot control equipment. Sir?
Dave Kessinger, Riverside. The park.
Can you state your name, please?
Dave Kessinger. It's in the exhibits I gave you. My name and address appears therein. I cannot, in this time frame, discuss the disability issues that necessitated me to back into a parking place, although that exception is granted to me by vehicle code to back in, even though it is posted otherwise. So this was a reason I'm speaking on parking revenue control system of Newport Beach. And on their website, they report non-communications from myself. And these, in the exhibits I gave you, my communications in writing was the first communications on Friday, November the 3rd of 2006. My second written communications was Thursday, November 16th, 2006. That's the second communication, Thursday, November 16th, 2006. The third communication from myself was Thursday, July the 27th, 2007. The fourth communication was August 3rd, 2007. My fifth communication was Wednesday, August the 8th of 2007. And most recently, the sixth communication I sent in writing, like all the other five, was Thursday, May 1st of 2008. And their website reports non-communication. So I'm really pleading before this council, nothing more than nothing less, an audit trail on each of my communications, and a part response that I did follow the instructions on the back of the citation in a timely manner. And your exhibits bear that out. And the report from DMV on my vehicle registration also shows your identification.
Okay, Mr. McDowell?
Mr. Mayor, if Mr. Kissinger will provide me his telephone number, I'll be glad to have someone contact him and try and see if we can get to the bottom of this.
Okay, appreciate that.
Okay, I'll make it a part of the record, 951-686-2138. And there's a backup number in case the iPhone, if the iPhone should decide to act up, and there's 949-715-1983, and that is a for real landline by Verizon. Thank you. I would prefer written communications because I am cognitive and disabled. My communications orally is rather shallow. So read my exhibits very closely and offer me a response. And my email is Kessinger@Kessinger.com, Kessinger, Kessinger@Kessinger.com. So email is very much appreciated. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you for the
Okay.
hope to hear in a reasonable period of time.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to address the council on this issue? Bring it back to council.
Move the action.
Second.
Please vote.
Motion carries.
Okay, oral reports from city council on committee activities. Councilmember Henn?
I have none.
Councilmember Rosansky?
None other than I will reiterate the June 9th meeting of the 4th of July Committee here at the City Hall Fire Conference Room, 4 o'clock p.m.
Mayor Pro Tem Daigle?
Yes, on Thursday, our Media Communications Committee will be meeting, and also an opportunity to plug the city's website. If you want to pay your bills to the city, you can do that online. Register for classes, recreation department, so on, and also a lot of factual information about our city government. So Google City of Newport Beach, and you'll end up at our website. Thank you.
Councilmember Gardner?
Yes, attended a meeting of the Newport Bay Watershed Executive Committee. As you probably remember, this is made up of stakeholders, including the Irvine Company, the County of Orange, the Irvine Ranch Water District, and several cities, including ourselves. And we will be bringing to the council in the next couple of months a proposal to amend the agreement to expand the membership to the cities of Santa Ana and Costa Mesa.
Councilman Curry?
The Finance Committee will be meeting on Friday to review where we are with our benchmarking initiative and pushing forward in that regard.
Councilmember Webb? Okay. The only thing I'd report is, on behalf of the Building Committee, that the City Hall Design Committee received 51 applications from architectural firms from across the world to be in the design competition for our new City Hall, and our City Hall Design Committee is actively reviewing those, and next month we'll be presenting some recommendations to the City Council. Okay, the next item on our agenda is public hearings. The first one is vacation of a storm drain easement at 431 Dahlia Avenue. Mr. Batum, is that yours?
Yes, Mr. Mayor and members of council, this is a vacation of an old storm drain easement, 10-foot wide. It was a former storm drain that is no longer in use. It's been abandoned. In fact, it was replaced some time ago. In fact, Councilman Webb might even remember that. For whatever reason, this parcel had not been vacated. This easement had not been vacated in this parcel while the surrounding parcels had vacated. So this action tonight, we're asking you to adopt, hold a public hearing and adopt a resolution ordering the vacation.
Okay. Any questions? Councilman Webb?
Is the pipe still there?
I believe it was abandoned in place.
Is it empty? Are we?
Guess we're going to find out.
Fill it up?
I doubt it. I mean, in abandoning this, are we turning all of the responsibility over to the person that it's being abandoned to either collapse it, fill it, or whatever they want to do to where we don't have any liability in the future?
Well, I believe if it was abandoned properly, it would have been packed full of slurry, but we can check on that.
It seemed like it would be reasonable that we don't want to have something coming down the road because somebody accidentally knocks a hole in something and whatever. If we're going to abandon it, we probably should get some sort of hold harmless or something.
Okay. Anybody in the public wish to comment on this? Okay, seeing no one, I'll bring
Move
it
the
back to
action.
motion.
Second.
Please vote.
Motion carries.
Okay, next item on our agenda is another public hearing. It's the Bay Burger Appeal, 600 Bay Avenue, use permit number 2007-027 to introduce the sale of beer and wine to the existing restaurant use. The staff report, maybe it's an excellent staff report. I don't think we need to go through the whole thing, but maybe you could emphasize what the Planning Commission's reasons were for turning down the applicant's application.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members. For Noena, planning technician. At the Planning Commission hearing, a few of the commissioners indicated support. However, a few issues did come up, such as the overconcentration in the area of existing ABC licenses, and also the fact that one of the conditions would be restricting the gross quarterly sales of alcohol so that it doesn't exceed the quarterly sales of food. However, that is very difficult to actually enforce. And so when the motion to approve was made, it failed with a 4-3 vote. And the applicant is now requesting that the City Council reverse the Planning Commission's decision. However, staff feels that because of the issues that were brought up in the Planning Commission hearing, that there's an overconcentration already that exists, and that the percentage of alcohol sales is very difficult to regulate, and that also that the ABC license may change the character of the restaurant, which, as you know, is in the fun zone and is in a family-oriented area and is a burger restaurant inside the fun zone. So staff is recommending that the council deny the appeal of the applicant and sustain the Planning Commission's decision to deny the use permit application.
Okay, thank you. Any questions of our staff?
How far is this from the merry-go-round?
Adjacent, I believe.
So in other words, it's within 10 or 15 feet?
I think that there's a walkway between it and maybe a fence, but yes.
It's right across from, right next to it.
Very close.
Aren't
Councilman
we,
Gardner?
aren't we conditioning a lot of our places now so that they have to have a percentage of alcohol to food sales?
We are?
Yes.
I
And
think
in all of
that's,
those, it's going to be difficult to
That is true.
substantiate?
Sorry.
That's right. Go ahead.
I do believe that that's a standard condition of approval that the police department holds, is that, and also maybe the,
ABC requires that as well.
yeah.
I just, it strikes me as odd that this particular restaurant is singled out as it's difficult to enforce when we have it conditioned on so many places.
Mayor, if I could take a shot at answering Councilman Gardner's question. The concern that was raised by the Planning Commission was what percentage of sales. ABC for a bona fide restaurant will require that the volume of food sales exceed that of alcohol sales. The concern was how much alcohol was being sold at a burger joint, as referred to, and 10 to 15% was what was being discussed at the Planning Commission as a restriction, as a percent of total sales. And that was where we said, you know, it wasn't even a matter of enforcement by the city. It was for the applicant. You know, what do you do? Shut the taps off after 8 days of the month because you're already approaching 15% of your projected gross sales. So that was an additional condition beyond that ABC.
Yeah, Councilman Hen.
Just one quick question. I understand that the hours of operation are conditioned in this requested use permit to conclude at 10 p.m.?
That's true. The restaurant is currently open until 11, but as part of the police department's conditions, it was limited to 10 p.m.
And the applicant didn't have a problem with that?
No.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'll open the public hearing and ask the applicant or his representative to step forward. Not yet, Dana. The applicant gets to go first.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, members of the staff, and the members of the community. My name is Michael Cho. I'm an attorney at 3991 MacArthur Boulevard, Newport Beach. I represent the applicant Bay Burger Company, LLC. He's the current tenant operator of Bay Burger Restaurant in the Fun Zone.
Mr. Cho, how many minutes do you think you're going to take?
5 minutes.
Okay.
Fern summarized, I believe, the sentiments of the Planning Commission in their denial of the use permit. We felt that it was an unreasonable request to add on significant conditions that were there were proposed conditions by the police department and staff that the applicant was willing to abide by and readily accept. That included the restrictions of gross sales of alcohol to 50/50, closing at 10 o'clock in the evening, making sure their employees that served alcohol were lead trained. I think the biggest concern was over service and being able to be a responsible operator in the area. When the discussion went to the percentages going down to 10 or 15% of gross sales, I think Mr. Lipo rightfully reminded the Planning Commission that it is, you know, basically putting staff in a position where they are approving conditions that staff can't enforce. And I think leaving it at the ABC standard of 50/50 is sufficient. This is a small burger restaurant. It has a strong local following. The only opposition to the application was by the planning commissioners that voted in opposition to it. We've received tremendous amount of local support. Most recently today I received a letter from Dan Marciano, owner of the Arches Restaurant, voicing his support. A letter from Sherry Drury of Wilma's Patio, also voicing her support, as well as we have 3 emails that came in from customers and local residents that were unable to attend this evening. And so I have copies of that, with the exception of the Arches letter, that I'd like to submit for the record. You know, overconcentration is a funny subject when it comes to liquor licensing. As you know, I do quite a bit of it in this town. Almost every single commercial area in this city is considered overconcentrated. whether you're in Fashion Island, on the peninsula, in Corona del Mar, the Bluffs Shopping Center off of MacArthur and Bison, there's an overconcentration, even by the airport, because concentration is determined by population. And commercial areas typically have a very little population that's based on the census. And so anytime you have more than a couple licenses in a commercial area, you typically hit overconcentration. So how you deal with overconcentration is what the city has done traditionally over the years that I've been working with you, in that there's appropriate conditions that can be placed on an operator to allow them to operate successfully and responsibly without impacting either law enforcement or the surrounding community. You can have operators that have no conditions that operate responsibly. You can have operators that have a tremendous number of conditions that operate irresponsibly. And unfortunately, there's a certain amount of risk that cities have to take in trusting that an operator is going to do the right thing. In this case, Christopher Roman, the operator, has come out of the restaurant industry out of New York. His wife grew up here in Newport. They live locally. He actually was going to walk over here for the meeting this evening, but I had him run an errand to go to the Arches to pick up the letter, so he had to ride his bike. But you know, they're a local family trying to operate a local business, and I think giving them an opportunity would be doing the right thing. They also, if you look at the lease situation on the location, I know there's concern, well, it may not be this particular operator, it'll be the next particular operator that may be problematic. But there's about a 5 or 6 year lifespan on this facility, depending on when they demolish the whole fun zone area for the museum. It would be unrealistic for anyone to come in and try to buy Bay Burger as an ongoing business, because you really can't sell them any time or opportunity to really do anything. So it's really, this is the last operator that's going to be in this facility. And so if you take a look at Mr. Roman, who will come up here in a moment, and let him describe, you know, how he operates, how he's been embraced by the local community, I think I would hope that you would give him an opportunity to operate subject to the conditions that both the planning staff and the police department previously recommended in the April hearing. And again, it has the limitations on hours, the sales, gross sales of alcohol, and lead training, which I think would most likely mitigate your concerns. And so with that, if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them. And if you have any questions for the applicant, Mr. Roman is here. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Daly.
Yes, so it's your position that to condition percentage of sales beyond the ABC is impractical?
I believe so. I personally believe that the 50-50 standard that is used by many cities and the ABC is impractical. The only time the ABC, or I even believe the city, has gone through the process to go through an audit is if they feel that, based on an investigation, that the sales of alcohol far exceed the sales of food. That's the only time it comes into play. I think it'd be completely unreasonable to think that staff or the ABC on a monthly or quarterly basis is going to audit every single restaurant in town that has that condition, and there are a significant number of them that do.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll open this for public comment. Anyone else wants to come forward, please do so.
Good evening, Mayor Selich, ladies and gentlemen of the council. My name is Dana Pettit. I live in the Belleville Peninsula Point. I'm here on behalf of the Bay Burger Company, who have this cute little restaurant on the Fun Zone. They cater all of the events for the Nautical Museum, significantly so. They catered the last dinner of the Titanic, which was 8 courses. Christopher has been trained at the Plaza Hotel in New York. His wife family has lived on the Peninsula Point for 20 years. They are not insignificant people. They're looking for locals to come there. The way they get locals to come is they have a beer and wine license. You go for dinner somewhere, some people don't drink, but some people want a glass of wine. The food is excellent. I had them cater my husband's service in the park. And these people are really lovely people. And I'm here to beseech you to grant them this beer and wine license so that we can get another fine restaurant. You know, I've been working for years to get the vibrancy of Balboa moving again with the right kind of restaurants and people. They're not going to do anything foolish. They're going to do everything right. So we need something else to help. We've got Old Britta's now, the sushi place, Newport Landing. We've got the Harbor Side, the Shore House. You know, we're moving along. The theater's going to come, I promise you, the Nautical Museum. So I beg you to consider this seriously because these are really fine young people, and they deserve to have this for now, as long as it is. And I thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening, Councilman, Mayor. Daniel Weldon, 1106 East Balboa. Was not prepared to do this, but I live in that area, and let's not forget where this restaurant is. Merry-go-round right next door has almost no indoor seating. Most of the seating is outside the restaurant. Ferris wheel right there, jumper right there. On the other side is games. There's nothing there but kids, and people will be sitting outside. The restaurant is almost never open till 10, 11 o'clock at night. But when it serves beer, I'm sure it will be. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Christopher Roman. I am the owner and operator of Bay Burger Company. If I may address the gentleman's concerns, part of the Planning Commission was that alcohol would not be allowed to be served outside on the patio. It is restricted to the 10 tables that we have inside the restaurant. And furthermore, we've only been open until 9 o'clock in the evening. Our hours of operation since we've been open a year and a half have been from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Last summer, we were open until 10 p.m. on Fridays and Saturdays. The restaurant's been open for about a year and a half, and it's been doing quite well. We're happy where we are. We have a small little restaurant that overlooks the bay. We've been recognized for the quality of our food, the friendliness of our staff, as well as the operational consistencies of the restaurant. It's a hard, unique area, and we really enjoy being there. We'd like to continue to be there. And by granting us a beer and wine license, we can continue to flourish and be there for some years to come. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name's John Ernst. I've lived in Newport over 30 years, on the Point for 20. And earlier this evening you talked about the outstanding young people. Well, one of our own came home with a husband and 2 small children from New York. And the restaurant to me is more than, I don't even like hamburgers. They're good, but I don't like them. But they also serve salads, so my wife and I want to go to dinner, and you can go have a salad and the beverage of your choice, which may be a glass of wine. You sit in the restaurant, you enjoy your meal, and you've supported a local restaurant. It's not a saloon. It's not the class of 47. It's a small, little, family-operated, family-owned, family-run business, and they really could use all of our support, and yours too. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to address the council? Step forward, please.
I'm Christine Means. I'm Balboa Peninsula Point resident for 50 years, so I've seen a lot of restaurants come and go. And as a local, we do enjoy walking up to Balboa, my husband and I, our children, my parents, and we would like to support local businesses, businesses that are well-run. But we do enjoy a glass of wine or beer every once in a while. So I would encourage you to let the license go through and let us, as locals, enjoy one of our best restaurants. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Bill Malcolm. I live at 2136 Miramar on the Peninsula Point, and it's hard for me to say, but I've been on the Point or on the Peninsula for 50 years, and I just can't imagine where all that time went. But the first place I lived was 419 Edgewater, just down the street from the fun zone. And I can tell you, I've seen it go through a lot of changes, as most of you have. The Bay Burger, the new owners of the Bay Burger have made a very positive change to the environment there at the fun zone. And contrary to a couple of the comments with regards to the Ferris wheel and the proximity of the Ferris wheel and the merry-go-round to the restaurant, I can tell you as a grandfather, after I chase around my 3 grandchildren for a while, I'm delighted to go inside and have a glass of wine. And the other things have been said. This is not a beer bar. It's not a place where you stand up. It's not a place where a bunch of people come in just to throw them back and get half in the bag. It is just a family-oriented restaurant with good food and good people running. So, again, I urge you to support the appeal. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
While he's coming up, maybe the city attorney can address one of the things that the owner had mentioned about, because I'm not finding it directly in the conditions, but the fact that, oh, I see it here. Okay, I missed it. I was looking at the standard condition. Never mind. Thank you.
My name is Jeff Dreher, and I don't know much about the rules and the regulation part of all of it, but I'm a friend of Christopher Roman's, and this city is lucky to have him here as a business person, to have this restaurant, and he runs a very nice business and would only do the right thing, and you're lucky to have him here. So.
Thank you.
My name's Kate Cotton, and I grew up with Christopher's wife down at the end of the peninsula. And I've gotten to know Christopher, and he's a really great guy. He really is. And I've watched him over the last 2 years build and create a charming little restaurant, and I just wish him the best of luck. And it's really nice to have a place to walk to with the family and the dog, and be able to sit outside with the dog and not have to drive up the peninsula to find a spot. I just really enjoy having it there.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Paul McKelvey. I'm a long-term resident of the Balboa Peninsula Point Association. I'm also president of the Balboa Peninsula Point Association. And a few months back, we made an effort to identify businesses that we want to keep down in the area. We all too often see businesses come and go. Last month, we featured Bay Burger in our little newsletter. Christopher and Kate took time to donate their efforts for a fundraiser for our local junior high school, Ensign. And we would very much like to see that they continue down there. Speaking as just a resident, I would like to be able to go down there and have a glass of beer or a glass of wine. So anyway, we would very much like to see that they continue and become a successful little business down there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Council, my name is Lou Enriquez. I live at the Balboa Peninsula since 1987. I'm not going to add to many of the other comments because I think everyone's done a great job. But to those people who have concerns about it being a bar, I'll just make one point. There's no television there. Tell me a bar that doesn't have a TV, and I think that's something that should be mentioned.
Thank you. Anybody else want to speak on this item? Okay, seeing no one, I'll close it and bring it back to council. Councilmember Henn.
Yes, I'd be glad to lead the discussion here. There's no question that Chris runs a good restaurant there. It is definitely intended to be a restaurant. The food's good. I've eaten there myself. And it's a nice, friendly little place right there on the bay. And so it's wonderful also. I'm sure, Chris, you're gratified to see the support from the community for your operation of the restaurant. Having said that, I also say, though, we need to make sure we understand what's involved here, and that is that these sorts of use permit approvals are not personal to the operator. And the public needs to understand that. These approvals are to the property. And so whether you operate it or whether someone else operates it, or you operate it and decide to change how you operate it, that approval stands. And so that's why it's a tough decision. It didn't surprise me that the Planning Commission decision went 4-3 here, because it's hard. We found out the hard way very recently in 2 revocation proceedings where an approval was granted on a use permit, the operator changed, and all of a sudden there were big problems. And so that's what's the tough issue here. Having said that, I've also spent some time looking at this and questioning it, and I've talked to the Nautical Museum. They certainly are a supporter of you, not just a restaurant. They support your being granted this license. And I also know that they have strict provisions in their lease with you that allow them to control whether or not a new operator comes in. Those are strict lease provisions, in fact. And I do have a great deal of confidence in the Nautical Museum, as well as you, regarding this location, and therefore am less concerned than I might have been that this operation could go the wrong way with some future operator. I'd have to say, whether you think we have too many bars and liquor licenses in the fun zone and on the peninsula or not, we probably don't need more than we have. And so ordinarily I wouldn't be real interested in adding more. Nevertheless, with the specifics of this situation and the support of the Nautical Museum and the terms of the lease and your agreement to the operating conditions in this use permit, it's very clear to me that this is not something that's going to go sideways and embarrass any of us up here. And therefore, I do move that we reverse the Planning Commission decision and go ahead and approve this use permit as originally recommended with the conditions attached.
I second.
Okay, any discussion?
I was very impressed that with the letter from the Nautical Museum. I mean, obviously, this is a group that is very concerned about its image and this whole process that they're going through to create this wonderful entity down there. And the fact that Dana is out here and other members from the community who have worked so hard to improve the whole image of the village, I think speaks a great deal. And as someone, I love the small restaurant, but I love my glass of wine with dinner. So I can understand how it really does help the business. And so I think with the conditions, I would definitely agree with you, Mike.
Okay, Councilman Curry?
Well, I share Councilmember Hinn's concern about proliferation of establishments in close proximity to each other, and I always give great deference to his views of how the peninsula is redeveloping because of his leadership in helping the peninsula along. And I'm pleased to agree with him on this application. I was very gratified by the show of support from the community from across the peninsula and the lack of any significant opposition. This gentleman here accepted, of course, to your application, and so I will be supporting the motion as well.
Okay, no further comments. Please vote.
Motion carries.
Okay, congratulations. Okay, next item on our agenda is public comments. Madam Clerk, can you please be quiet exiting? We've got more business to attend to.
Public comments are invited on non-agenda items generally considered to be within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council. Speakers must limit comments to 3 minutes before speaking. Please state your name for the record.
Okay, public comments. Please step forward. Anyone that wants to address us in public comments?
I'm a newcomer to this, and my name is Linda Klein. I would like to know when the hearing is on the use permits for the rehabs.
Okay, do you have any other questions?
I do.
Okay.
I'd like to know who the hearing officer is, and I'd like to know when you're going to give the community notice about this hearing.
Okay, well, just a second. You have any other questions, or is that it?
That's it.
Okay, thank you. You can take your seat. Okay, go ahead.
The ordinance that the council adopted sets forth the hearing process
the notice, and there is provisions for the appointment of hearing officers. So all that information will be provided when the hearings are scheduled. The applications just came in, so I don't think we have any hearing dates at this point in time, but the noticing will be done per the ordinance that the council adopted.
And how would people that are interested in this keep apprised of?
One way you can do that is there is a provision for requesting specific notice, particularly all property owners within, I believe it's 300 feet of the application will be noticed. If you are outside 300 feet or if you have an interest in any of these noticed hearings, you can give a request for notice to the planning department. And then when the notices go out, then the specific notice can be provided to anybody that requests it.
Okay, so anyone that wants to be noticed, they contact the planning department, and you'll be on a list to be notified. Okay, any other public comments? Okay, seeing none, we'll go on to the Planning Commission agenda and oral status report.
Mayor and members of City Council, we had a fairly quick Planning Commission meeting last week. First item was Fury Rock and Roll Sushi Lounge use permit revocation. The recommendation of the city attorney, while there was a negotiation and going on to settle the claim filed by the operators of Rock and Roll Sushi against the city, this item was continued until June 5th. Next item was Balboa Inn at 105 Main Street. This was an annual review of the use permit that allowed entertainment and dancing at the establishment. You may remember a year ago there were some problems there. Neighbors were complaining. The owner of the next door residential use was complaining he couldn't keep tenants because of it, and because of the conditions that were imposed and the diligence of the applicants. We were very happy to report that there were no problems, and even the owner of the residential property reported that he had no problem with his tenants since then. So that was a good one. Next one was Albertsons on Coast Highway in Corona Del Mar. This one came up after we had a complaint last year about the management and employees of the supermarket not complying with the conditions of approval, specifically that the required parking permits for the employees to park in the municipal lot at Bayside and Coast Highway were not being bought and were not being used. Since last year, the staff and code enforcement have checked on that and found out, in fact, that there were only 2 automobiles parked in there with the stickers for employees at a time when there were at least 12 people on duty in the store. So Planning Commission admonished the manager that they needed to get with the program here and asked the planning department to monitor this over the next 6 months, and we will report back to the Planning Commission on Albertson's compliance with the use permit conditions sometime in the next 6 months. Next item, McGonigal Residence. This is on Pacific Drive at Begonia Park. Most of you have probably heard about this, and I know Councilmember Gardner certainly has. This was a proposal to build a single-family residence at the end of the lookout there at the end of Begonia at its intersection with Pacific, and a lot of people thought that was a city property. There was a variance request in conjunction with that request to build a single family to allow about a 60-foot high building there in the back, and residents came out and wanted the view from the park out to the bay protected, so the applicant is going back to revise the design, and I expect it to take some time, so they asked this item be taken off calendar, and Planning Commission agreed it was taken off calendar. Lastly, there was a review, as required by government code, of the capital improvement projects by the Planning Commission for conformity with the general plan and with as also required by the city charter. Planning Commission found the capital improvements plan was consistent with both, and they did ask that you consider dredging of the lower bay as a high priority item.
What was the issue of the one person that voted no?
I'm sorry?
What was the issue of the one person that voted no on that? You got 4 ayes, 1 no, and 2
Yeah, I
ayes.
see that. Let me think for a second, Councilman. I can't remember if there was any specific discussion about the vote no. I don't know. I have to get back to you on that. I honestly don't recall.
Okay, any other questions? Mr. Lipo? Okay, thank you. Anybody in the audience want to address us on the Planning Commission report? Okay, seeing no one, we don't have to take an action on that, do we? Okay. Our last item of business is continued business. This is the proposed underground utility assessment district number 101. dash blank in the area generally bound by Buena Vista Avenue, Edgewater Avenue, Adams Street, and Balboa Boulevard. It's the preliminary approval of the amended engineer's report.
Yes, Mr. Mayor and members of council, tonight amounts to essentially what we call a do-over. After the council approved
I believe that's a mulligan.
or mulligan, yeah, whatever way you want to term it. Once we started the Assessment District 101 process, our assessment engineer recognized that there had been a miscalculation in the benefit spread that would affect about 17 of the 360 properties involved. And additionally, we also had some issues, some public concern about how the spread of the safety element of the assessment spread. So the assessment engineer went back and reviewed that calculation. We're now presenting to you we're asking for a preliminary approval of the amended report, resetting the time of the hearing for July 22nd. And hopefully this time we'll be able to move forward and have that hearing. And the assessment engineer is here tonight if there are any questions regarding the spread from Weldan. And as well, we also have our assessment district counsel if there are any other legal questions that you may have.
Okay, any questions of staff? Okay, seeing none. Okay, I'll open it to public comment. Anybody from the public wish to comment? Please step forward. Okay, see. Yeah, get up if you want to talk.
My name's Bruce Brandenburg. I've lived down on the peninsula for about 20 years. I'm in District 101, and we're all proponents. All I would suggest is that I know Councilman Henn tried to address some of the concerns back about 3 months ago. And I think as a group, we've been very patient. I think Iris has done an exceptional job, but I believe city management needs to review this whole process and get more involved, because we didn't have to do a mulligan or a do-over. And we wasted a lot of our time in our district. The management of the city did. Not Iris, but the management. And so I think after this goes through, you can learn a lot from us, what we think the process changes should be and what you should all do. And that's all I'd like to say.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Move the action.
Second.
Okay, please vote.
I did want to make one or two very quick comments here. First off, I think the residents deserve a good deal of recognition here for being so diligent in pursuing this. I think the city staff deserves a great deal of recognition here. Iris certainly for her patience in working through all the issues, and also the city management, because at the end of the day, it was the participation of the city management that produced a final result here that I think most all of us think makes good sense. And furthermore, to your comments, Bruce, we do have a commitment to work on an improved process here and city policies that we believe will make this better going forward for districts that are coming behind, at least 3 of which are on the peninsula. And so I think this was a good result, and want to thank city staff for supporting all the back and forth all this time to help it become a good result. And with that, I'm ready to vote.
Okay, please vote.
Motion carries.
Okay, last item's motion for reconsideration. Madam Clerk?
A motion to reconsider the vote on any action taken by the City Council at either this meeting or the previous meeting may be made only by one of the council members who voted with the prevailing side.
Okay, any motions for reconsideration? Okay, I'd like to adjourn tonight's meeting in the memory of Patricia Ann Crone. Pat Crone was a longtime resident of Newport Beach. She died Monday, May 19th in Orange after a long struggle with the effects of post-polio syndrome. She was 75. She's survived by her husband, Clark Loomis King, and her daughter, Carrie Crone Comer of Irvine. Pat served 30 years as a commissioner on the Orange County Human Relations Council, was a board member and longtime volunteer in the Education Department of the Orange County Pacific Symphony. She was a founding member of the Orange Coast College Foundation, serving there for 22 years. Pat had a successful 40-year career with Pacific Bell and enjoyed her 17-year retirement years. And our sympathy goes out to her family. And with that, we're adjourned.